right, so we're off to Hebron now.
Or
Wait,
Hebron, if you're
sorry.
Jewish.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa, okay. We're off to Hebron. I know nothing about it, so what's the significance of this place?
Well, it's in the south of the West Bank, and it has had a very long-standing religious interest for Jews, Christians, and Muslims, particularly the Tomb of the Patriarchs, which is a point of significance for Muslims and Jews. And so it was inhabited by a Jewish community for probably since the beginning of the Old Kingdom, when after the British Mandate came in and after Zionism started taking hold in Palestine, there was a lot of rioting. Famously, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired.
So there's a riot there?
There were lots of riots in that period. One of the biggest ones was in 1929, up and down the country. That actually is what led to the original Jewish population of Gaza having to leave because it was too intense. In Hebron, there was a very, very brutal massacre of about 60 plus people, 69 maybe. And the irony is that a lot of the people who were killed were not even Zionists, they were anti-Zionist because they were religious and they believed that it wasn't our place as Jews to come in and and reestablish the Jewish temple or to rebuild the Jewish kingdom because we're supposed to wait for the Messiah to do that. So they didn't actually have very favorable opinions of Zionism, but a lot of them in those riots and the massacre were caught up in it anyway and got killed. There was also like a lot of brutal sexual violence and et cetera, et cetera.
When you say they were killed, like, do we know who did it and everything, or what?
It's rioters, like a mob. People who were incited by Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the leader of the Palestinian movement. And so it loses its Jewish population. The other people who survive mostly leave. Then in the 48 war, it comes under Jordan's control. And in 67, it gets back into the hands of Israel. So when it's occupied by Israel, Jewish people start returning because again, they feel like they have a religious and ancestral presence there. So they start to settle there, they start to reclaim certain areas. And in the Oslo process, it came under the Palestinian Authority, but it's a very unique situation because it's under the Palestinian Authority technically, but it's also kind of segregated into parts that have Israeli military presence, like a fifth of it is controlled by the IDF because there is still like a significant Jewish population there. So it's got like H1 and H2. So you know how the West Bank has area A, B, and C? Mm-hmm. It's got A for Palestinian Authority, B for joint control, and then C for Israel. But in Hebron, you've got more than that. You've got H1 and H2, which is the Arab Hebron and the Jewish Hebron. And parts of it are, we'll see it, I guess, they're segregated by like, there's a walk path that you often see pictures of Arabs walking down their area. And then on top of it, there's a fence above the walk path because settlers who live on the top would apparently come in and throw their trash to the bottom. Also in 95, just shortly after the start of the peace process, right-wing Israelis or far-right Israelis were very opposed to that because they don't want there to be an Arab state in the West Bank. So Judea and Samaria, they call it. So as an effort to frustrate that peace process, a right-wing Israeli extremist went into one of those religious sites, the Tomb of the Patriarchs, and started throwing grenades into the rooms, and 29 Muslims were killed.
Jesus.
So, and that was one of the many acts that sort of started that big cycle of violence that frustrated the peace process and turned people off it. That was actually, at that time, in the 90s, Hamas were already killing civilians or were already doing suicide bombings, but there was still a little bit of dispute within the movement about targeting Israeli civilians, especially within Israel proper. Yeah. And there was dispute about like suicide bombing itself. but that event in particular was apparently what got Sheikh Yassin to decide that that they were going to commit to this.
Yeah.
So then you start seeing escalation from them as well.
אני בא לאסוף מישהו פה באפרת והולך לקבר אחר.
ישראלים?
כן. לא, כאילו... תפתח. תפתח.
מה נשמע?
Hey.
Israeli citizens?
No, UK, America, Canada.
See?
Yes. אנחנו באים לאסוף את ישי פליישר.
אין בעיה.
Thank you.
מאיפה אתה? Where are you from?
Scotland, half Lebanese,
Where are you staying in Israel?
staying in Jerusalem.
You staying also in Jerusalem?
האם עשיתם בידוק על הפלסטינאי ובמשאית?
Well, that doesn't rival the IDF soldiers first day, but
What?
it won't beat the IDF soldiers recording from that first day.
Yeah.
But we'll take it.
Um,
I like how they only question you.
obviously. It's fine. Yeah, so
Cycle of violence, you were saying, and then
yeah, so Hebron was kind of like one of the big sites of that, and it's been, even I think before 29, I think there had been some violence here between Muslims and Jews, but yeah, it's been definitely a centerpiece of just like low-level conflict between Israelis and Palestinians because it's very significant to both of them. It's got a lot of bad memories.
sure. I mean, is there any tensions now, like in the news? Or
I would
anything?
imagine there are, but I haven't seen anything in the news now. That guy from 90, I think it was 95, maybe 94, the guy who murdered those 29 people in
Yeah.
that the Tomb of the Patriarchs, his name was Baruch Goldstein, and Ben Gvir, who's in the government right now, used to have a portrait of him, like a picture of him in his wall.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So is Ben Gvir considered like the farthest right, or like? He
Yeah, I mean,
represents the farthest right?
he's a criminal. He's had like problems with being part of organizations that even Israel considers terrorist. Yeah.
But he's a current politician.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He's
how do you
in charge of
square
the police and security.
that? But then when you say he's a criminal, you're saying like,
He's been a.
but he's not on
Ben's
paper
criminal.
a criminal.
No,
Oh,
I
no,
think
he's been
he is on
served
paper
his time or
criminal, isn't
something.
Yeah. I don't actually know what his sentence, if he went to jail or if he was fined or whatever. But he's. Let me see. Actually, find out. Yeah, he was convicted for incitement to racism and supporting a terror organization. He's been indicted like over 50 times, but most of them are thrown out. But yeah, he's a convicted criminal, yeah.
Okay. What's like his support level right now? Since October
It's not
7th?
high, but it's high enough that the Knesset's very strange. It's not like other representative systems where, like in the UK, we have multi-party, but
Yeah.
if you get like 35% of the votes in the right places, you can get like well over 50% of the seats. In Israel, it's a bit more representative, so when you have like a ruling party, they can have like 30 seats, but then they get all the rest with coalition partners. So that gives smaller extreme parties a lot of influence, because if you are like 3 seats off of forming a coalition,
Yeah.
and the only party that you can bring in is on the complete opposite end of you, and they're going to demand concessions to make that coalition, then you have to give them concessions, even if they're only 3 members. If they only got 3 seats.
Yeah.